Welcome to Seedling Squad, your go-to place for all things plant and gardening. Whether you're a beginner just starting out or a seasoned green thumb, we've got tips, tricks, and tutorials for everyone. Hi, I'm Monica, and I'm here to help you grow your gardening skills and turn your space into a green paradise. From seed to harvest, let's embark on this gardening journey together. In today's video, we will be featuring the most beautiful plants that thrive in shade. Just so you know, there are direct links to all the related products in the description below. If you want a wide range of gardening facts, tips, and tricks, be sure to visit our website at seedlingsquad.com. So, let's get started. Many gardeners think shade limits their options, but I'm about to show you 10 amazing plants that not only tolerate shade, but actually prefer it. Let's transform those challenging spots into gorgeous garden features. First, let's understand what shade actually means in gardening terms. We have deep shade where direct sunlight rarely penetrates, partial shade with 2 to 4 hours of direct sun, and dappled shade where sunlight filters through tree canopies. Keep these distinctions in mind as I discuss each plant's preferences. Let's start with the showstopper of spring shade gardens, bleeding hearts. These romantic perennials feature heart-shaped flowers dangling from arching stems like little lockets. The classic variety produces pink hearts with white tips, but you can also find all-white versions for a more elegant look. Bleeding hearts prefer partial to full shade and thrive under deciduous trees where they get spring sunlight before the canopy leaves out. They typically grow 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, creating a magnificent display in April and May. What makes bleeding hearts special for beginners is their self-sufficiency. They need minimal care once established. Just provide rich, moist soil with good drainage and they'll return year after year. In hot summer areas, they may go dormant after flowering, so plan on surrounding them with later blooming shade plants. Next up, we have Caladiums, the tropical beauties that bring unmatched color to deep shade. These flamboyant foliage plants feature heart-shaped leaves in spectacular combinations of pink, red, white, and green. Some varieties have translucent qualities that seem to glow in dim light. Caladiums thrive in full to partial shade. In fact, too much sun will burn those gorgeous leaves. They generally reach 1 to 2 feet tall and make spectacular container plants or ground covers. For beginners, caladiums are surprisingly easy despite their exotic appearance. They prefer warm, humid conditions and consistently moist, rich soil. In colder climates, dig up the tubers in fall before frost and store them indoors until next spring. Now, let's talk about Coleus, perhaps the most versatile shade plant for adding instant color. With endless varieties featuring vividly patterned foliage in combinations of green, purple, pink, red, and yellow, Coleus plants are like living works of art. Modern breeding has produced sun-tolerant varieties, but traditional Coleus still prefers partial to full shade. These plants typically grow 1 to 3 feet tall depending on the variety and can spread nearly as wide. What makes Coleus ideal for beginners is how quickly they grow and how easily they propagate. Simply pinch off growing tips regularly to encourage bushiness and prevent flowering, as the flowers are insignificant and divert energy from foliage. Coleus grows happily in containers or garden beds with moderately moist soil. No shade garden is complete without ferns, the quintessential woodland plants that bring a prehistoric elegance to shady spots. With their delicate, feathery fronds, ferns create texture and movement in deep shade where few flowering plants thrive. Most garden ferns prefer full to partial shade and range from tiny 6-inch varieties to massive 5-foot specimens. Beginners should know that while established ferns are drought-tolerant, they prefer consistently moist, rich, slightly acidic soil. They are exceedingly low maintenance once established, with most varieties being deer-resistant and long-lived. Try Japanese painted ferns for colorful silver and burgundy fronds, or classic Boston ferns for a lush tropical feel. Moving on to foxgloves, those dramatic vertical accents that bring cottage garden charm to shady spots. Their tall spires of tubular flowers in shades of purple, pink, white, and cream create a magical woodland atmosphere. Foxgloves do best in partial shade, especially in hotter regions where afternoon shade protects them from scorching. They typically reach 2 to 5 feet tall, creating dramatic height in shade gardens. For beginners, it's important to note that most foxgloves are biennial. They form a rosette of leaves the first year and flower the second year before setting seed and dying. However, they self-seed readily, creating ongoing generations. Plant them in well-draining soil rich in organic matter, and they'll create a self-sustaining colony. Just remember, all parts of foxgloves are toxic, so wear gloves when handling them. Let's talk about hydrangeas, the flowering shrubs that provide months of color in shady conditions. These versatile plants produce stunning blooms in shades of blue, pink, white, or purple from summer into fall. Most hydrangeas thrive in morning sun with afternoon shade, though varieties like Annabelle and oakleaf hydrangeas tolerate deeper shade. They typically grow 3 to 6 feet tall and wide, making them perfect foundation plants or standalone specimens. For beginners, it's fascinating to know that many hydrangeas change flower color based on soil pH. Acidic soil produces blue flowers, while alkaline soil yields pink ones. They prefer rich, consistently moist soil and will wilt dramatically to tell you when they need water. Prune only after flowering or in early spring, depending on the variety. If you need reliable color in deep shade, Impatiens are your answer. These popular bedding plants offer nonstop blooms throughout the growing season in a rainbow of colors, including white, pink, red, coral, purple, and bicolors. Traditional Impatiens love full to partial shade and will literally burn in direct sun. They typically grow 6 to 24 inches tall and wide, making them perfect for borders, containers, and hanging baskets. Beginners appreciate how low maintenance Impatiens are. Just water consistently and they'll bloom continuously without deadheading. Be aware that traditional Impatiens are susceptible to downy mildew in some regions, so consider New Guinea Impatiens as an alternative if this is a problem in your area. Now for the royalty of shade gardens, azaleas. These flowering shrubs create spectacular spring displays with masses of colorful, often fragrant blooms. Available in virtually every color except blue, they transform shady areas into vibrant showcases. Azaleas prefer dappled or partial shade, especially protection from hot afternoon sun. Depending on the variety, they range from dwarf 2-foot plants to towering 8-foot specimens. Beginners should know that azaleas require acidic soil with a pH of 4.5 to 6 to thrive. Plant them in well-draining soil rich in organic matter, with their root balls slightly above soil level. Once established, they're relatively drought-tolerant but prefer consistent moisture. Prune only after flowering to preserve next year's blooms. Similar to azaleas, but typically larger, are their cousins, rhododendrons. These magnificent flowering shrubs produce spectacular clusters of blooms above glossy evergreen leaves, providing year-round structure and spring color. Like azaleas, rhododendrons prefer dappled or partial shade, especially in hot climates. They range from compact 2 Midas-foot varieties to tree-like 12-foot specimens. Beginners should follow the same acid-loving care guidelines as azaleas, planting them high with well-draining, rich soil. Rhododendrons have shallow root systems, so mulch well and never disturb the soil around them. Their impressive flowers and year-round presence make them worth the specific soil requirements. Finally, let's talk about violas, including pansies and violets, which bring cheerful faces to shade gardens in cooler seasons. These charming plants feature delicate blooms in a vast array of colors, often with contrasting faces or whisker marks. Violas perform beautifully in partial shade, especially in hot climates where afternoon shade protects them from heat. They typically grow 4 to 8 inches tall and spread slightly wider. What makes violas perfect for beginners is their cool season blooming. They provide color in fall, winter, and spring when many other plants are dormant. Plant them in rich, well-draining soil, deadhead spent blooms to encourage more flowers, and enjoy their sweet fragrance and edible blooms that can decorate salads and desserts. Thanks for joining us on this countdown of the most beautiful plants that thrive in shade. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more gardening tips and tricks. Happy gardening, Seedling Squad!